If I draw a render region right now, you'll notice that a lot of the shading of the cloud comes from the blue of the environment and the sky, physical sky, and some from the sun shader, which is, of course, above right now. We're going to do a little bit of underside lighting on the particle cloud to illuminate it, but we also have another issue as well. If you look at the render, you can see that each of the particles that is representing a portion of the cloud are represented as unique entities unto themselves. They don't really blend very well together. You can see the distinct lines that delineate one from the next. The other problem we have right now too is that the particles are yellow. They're yellow. So I need to change that, and I'm actually going to use ice to change the color of the particles. I'm just going to randomly add grays and whites to each of these particles to just kind of bring it into the color range that I want, and then I'll start to worry about getting the more cloud-like shape. So to use ice to generate colors, all we need to do is set the particle color, and for that I'm going to go in and get a randomized color by gradient node. So if we again just have a look under modifiers, there's a randomized color by gradient compound, and all it's really doing is it's taking a gradient node. So if I actually have a look under color, let me just under tool color, sorry. So we have our gradient node here. A randomized value, or a randomized color by value, or by range in this case, uses a randomized node. So I can actually just grab a randomized value by range. So Control C, Control V, copy that, and use it to drive my gradient. I can then plug the color output of the gradient into the color input on the emit from surface node if all I want to do is initialize the color at emission. If I wanted to animate this and maybe have a turbulence field running through the color, I would be plugging into the main port of the ice tree. Again, if I hit play right now, we don't get anything. Even if I click on the animated function, we get nothing there either, even though the particles might be the same color. Let's just set the min and max, something like that. And even there, we don't get a color shift at all. If I was to take the gradient attribute, actually let me put this in here. Okay, so you don't see anything really changing. However, if I was to plug this into the ice tree port, and again we have a problem here, we have a conflict between the color RGB out and the port mismatch, which supports an input of type execute. We can actually just get a set data node that will do this for us, or a pre-built set node. If we look under the particle types and under setters, we can actually set the particle color, and all of the set nodes actually execute out into an execute on emit port or into the terminate port of an ice tree. So I'll output the gradient output into the set particle color input and execute that there. And now you can actually see, if I hit play, that the picking of the range from 0 to 1 is actually animated, and being random, it's just picking a random value. If I was to actually go and turbulize value by range, just pull this range in here. Let's go from a range of 0 to 1. Make it an animated effect. Actually just speed the animation up. There we go. You can see that it actually blends the values a little bit better over time. So if I increase the scale, lower the animation speed, we get something like that. So in my case, I just want to set the value once. So I'm actually just going to plug out the set particle color compound, delete that, and I'm just going to output straight into the color input. And I am going to use a randomize value by range. So if I just look at the range, if we look at the color, our color shift is only going from black to white, and we're trying to randomize the value from the range of particle position, so position 0 through to position 1. So if I go in and I set my min value to 0 and my max value to 1, that gives me the range of colors to choose from. And again, I don't need this to be an animated randomization. I now just need to go and set the actual colors within the gradient. So if I go and pick some, maybe 4 colors in here, and I'll go for some light colors. Let me just go and set this to frame 2 so I can actually see what I'm doing. And I'll just get a good variety of colors in here. So some bright colors, the tint of blue. There we go. Let's go with something like that. So maybe even just give it a little bit more of a little bit more contrast. Just go to HLS mode and take the color contrast down a little bit there. So now that I've got the colors working on my OpenGL, in my OpenGL view, I need to actually take that gradient and pass it through to my render tree. So that'll be my next task, actually pulling a value from the ice graph and using it somehow in the render tree.